Hello, and welcome once again to Wisdom from the Word. This is episode 21, and I've entitled it, What's Your Perspective? If you turn to Numbers chapter 13, the first two verses kind of set the background for what we're going to be talking about. Verse 1 says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among you. So what God told Moses to do is pick out 12 men, one man from each tribe of Israel, and they were to go into the promised land and spy it out, check it out, and then come back and give a report to the people, because they were about ready to go into that land, or so they thought anyhow. So that was what they did. He sent them out, and if you look down there, chapter 13, verse 17, it says, Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said to them, Get you up this way southward and go up into the mountain and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not, and be of good courage. And talks about some other things he wanted them to do. So they sent the 12 spies out. They came back. All 12 spies saw the same scene. They saw the promised land. But their perspectives were very different. 10 of them came and gave what we would call a negative report. 2 of them came and gave a positive report. Their perspectives were different. Now, we think about that word perspective. It's the idea of a particular attitude or way of regarding something, a point of view. They had different perspectives. If you look down there, same chapter 13, verse 27, this is the larger group. The 10 men say this. And they told him and said, We came unto the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and goes on to name the other groups of people. And then if you look there in verse 32, and they brought up an evil report. It says they're stronger than we are. They saw the giants. We look like grasshoppers in their sight. So they came at it from a perspective of fear. That's the first one we want to look at, a perspective of fear. Fear looks at the situation. It focuses on us, or them at the time, those 10 spies, and the circumstances. Okay, keep that in mind. Fear looks at the situation. I found a couple acrostics for fear, and the other one that I'm going to use. Fear, they say, means false expectation appearing real. So they were expecting to be defeated by these giants when God had already given them this land. It was the promised land. Fear tends to trap. Proverbs 29:25 says the fear of man is a snare. When they looked at the land, yes, they saw the great fruit, but it says nevertheless. But, okay, they saw defeat. We're going to go in there, we're going to be defeated because of the giants. And guess what? As a result, these 10 men, along with a lot of others, never got to go into the promised land because of their doubt, their rebellion. Now we're going to look at another perspective. If you look there at verse 30 of the same chapter, and Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. And then if you look in chapter 14, we see the other man that was with him, Joshua, the son of Nun, chapter 14, verse 6, Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were with them of that search the land, rent their clothes. And they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, The land which we passed through to search it, it is an exceeding good land. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it us, a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not ye against the Lord, neither fear ye the people of the land. For they are bread for us, for their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. They had the perspective of faith, whereas fear looks at the situation and puts the focus on us and the circumstances. Faith looks through or beyond the circumstances to the Lord. Found two good acrostics about faith. One says, forwarding all issues to heaven. I like that. Pray about it. Or full assurance in trusting him. That's what Caleb and Joshua did. They put their trust in the Lord. They knew that God was greater than those giants and those walled cities. And as fear traps us, faith frees us. And those two spies saw victory because of God. And guess what? Those were the two that were able to go into the land along with the next generation. 12 men. There's a song, 12 men went to spy on Canaan, okay? 12 men went, saw the same thing. 2 came back with the perspective of faith. 10 came back with the perspective of fear. There's other examples in the Bible too. David, when he saw Goliath, he thought, I can go out there with God's help and defeat them. Whereas the other people in Israel, we're afraid. David got the victory. Elijah saw God on the Mount Carmel and defeated the prophets of Baal. But when he saw Jezebel, he feared and was defeated and ran away. Same situations in certain ways, but different perspectives. What is your perspective? What is my perspective? When we look at situations in our lives, do we look at it through a perspective of fear? Oh, these financial issues, this health issue, this family issue, our country, it's a mess. We can get fearful. And what are we doing then? We're looking at the circumstances and we're not putting our trust in God. Whereas we can look at it with faith. God, you are in control. You are going to get me through this. I'm going to look through the circumstance to you. And then we can be freed from that worry, from that anxiety, from that fear. And we can have a victorious Christian life and not live in defeat. I found a good quote. It says, I either have a very big God with very small problems, or I have a very big problem with a very small God. I'm not saying what you're going through is little, but for God it is. Nothing is hard for God. Those giants weren't hard for God. Your particular circumstance that you're going through now is not hard for God. We just need to have that proper perspective. Where do we get that from? Again, God's word, praying, talking to godly Christians, and having that perspective of faith that looks through the circumstances to God, and we can have victory rather than being in fear and being trapped, focusing on the circumstances only. We serve a great God, people. We really do. And I need to say that to myself and stop being afraid and having that faith that God will give me what he wants me to have. He will bring me through. So I ask you this week, what is your perspective? God bless you. See you next time.